Hello everyone and welcome back to another video tutorial, and if you're new here, I am Carolina and I share easy to follow sewing tutorials specifically designed for beginners. So in today's video I want to show you how easy it is to make these cute baby and toddler pants, and this pattern is so special to me because it is the very first pattern that I made for my baby, and so this is also why this pattern is named after him, and I'm super excited to finally share it with you because I'm working on it since February, so really a long time. So let me give you an overview on the Tommy pants before we start the sewing tutorial. So this pants has quite a wide leg fit, which I think it's super cute and I love it on little ones, and it's also great because it allows your baby to move more freely in the space, and they can really grow with your baby because of all those extra space in the leg. Then the size range is 3 months up to 3 years, so you will really be able to make tons of pair of pants for your little one. And there is also an option to add inseam pockets, which I think are super fun to add, especially for toddlers. Then, since it was my first time designing for babies, and since I also noticed that even with ready to wear clothes you might end up to size up or down for your little one, I decided to ask to some lovely women to test the pattern so it can be as perfect as possible, and their feedback has been extremely important. So included in the general info PDF you will find a final section dedicated to the testers, and you will find a gallery with some pictures and also some feedbacks that they left after testing the pattern, because I think this is super important and helpful when you want to decide which size to sew for your little one. Okay, and now I'm finally going to show you how to sew these pants, and I'm going to show you first how to make the pair without the inseam pockets, and then I'm going to show you how to add the inseam pockets. So I will just pop here the minutes where you need to go if you want to add the inseam pockets. And now we can grab our sewing machine and finally start sewing these cute little pants for our little ones. Alright, let's get started by cutting out our pattern pieces. For this tutorial I'm using a Vichy cotton with the sweet small light blue checks, which I absolutely love. Here I'm laying out the pattern pieces following the grain line direction indicated on them, meaning I'm positioning them parallel to the grain line of the fabric. If your fabric has the right side and the wrong side, both the front and the back pattern pieces need to be cut as a mirrored pair. You can do this in two ways: either fold your fabric in half and cut both layers at once, or place one pattern piece with the markings facing you and the other with the markings facing down into the fabric. Either way, you will end up with two front pieces and two back pieces. Now, this is an important step, so don't skip this one. We need to mark the notches on our pattern pieces, as we will need this later to create the opening for the waistband elastic and to position the optional inseam pockets. I'm using a fabric marker here, but regular chalk works perfectly fine too. Make sure to transfer the notches onto all your pattern pieces, and for the second piece of both the front and the back I use pins to mark the position, just like I'm doing here. Now that all our pieces are cut out, two front pieces and two back pieces, let's give them a good press with the iron before we start sewing. I know it can be tempting to skip this step, but trust me, it makes a real difference. Pressing your fabric first helps it behave much better while sewing and gives you finished pants a neater, more professional look. Before we start joining our pieces together, let's take a moment to mark one more thing. Using your fabric marker or chalk, mark the distance indicated by the notch. This will help us be nice and precise when we create the elastic opening later. And now we are truly ready to start sewing, and we will begin by joining the side seams and inner leg seams. Let's start with the two back pieces. Place them face to face so they mirror each other, and at this point the right side of the fabric should be facing you. Now take your two front pieces and place them on top, making sure the right sides of all four pieces are facing each other. You should now have all four pieces layered together with the wrong side facing you on both the top and the bottom. Go ahead and pin everything together along the outer side seams and the inner leg seams, then sew them using a 1 cm seam allowance. And don't forget to backstitch at both the beginning and at the end of every seam. So this locks your stitches in place and stops them from coming undone over time. Next, we need to finish the row edges to prevent fraying, and I'm using an overlocker here, but if you don't have one, no worries at all, because a zigzag stitch on your regular sewing machine works perfectly and gives you exactly the same result. Then, if you're using an overlocker, you will notice that there are some thread tails left at the beginning and at the end of each seam, and it's really important to not leave these loose as they can unravel over time and undo all your hard work. To secure them, thread the tail into a wool needle and wave it back into the seam. This gives you a clean finish that will last. Now it's time to join our two leg pieces together. To do this, hold one piece with the wrong side facing you, then turn the other piece inside out so the right side is facing you. Slide one piece inside the other, lining up the front pieces together and the back pieces together. The right sides of the fabric should now be pressed face to face. Now we can join the two pieces along the crotch curve. Start by pinning at the center seams, taking your time to align them as closely as possible. The more precise you are here, the better your pants will look. Then sew along the curve and finish your seam allowances with your overlocker or a zigzag stitch, just as we did before. Now pull one leg out through the other, and just like that your pants are really starting to take shape. Now we are going to create the elastic casing, which is the channel that will hold our waistband elastic. Before we move on, I'm marking the back piece with a clip so I don't lose track of which side is which. Start by folding the fabric edge over by about 5 mm and then fold it over one more time until you reach the notch markings we made earlier. Give it a good press at each fold to keep everything in place. Now we are going to sew along the folded edge, stitching as close to the edge as possible, and make sure to leave a small opening as this is where we will insert the elastic later. As I don't always feel like sewing a label inside the pants, I sew a small extra line of stitching just 1 mm from the first one, right in the center of the back piece. This is your secret back marker, and once your little one is wearing the pants, you won't even notice it there. Now it's time to thread the elastic through the waistband casing. Now attach a safety pin to one end of the elastic and use it to guide the elastic all the way through the casing. Take your time here and make sure the elastic doesn't twist, as a twisted elastic can be really uncomfortable to wear. Once the elastic is through, overlap the two ends by a few centimeters and roll them together with a clip. Now sew the ends together using a zigzag stitch. And here it is another little tip to avoid breaking your thread at the start. Turn the end wheel by hand for the first couple of stitches, then remove the pin and switch to the foot pedal as normal. Go over the join a couple of times to make sure it's nice and secure. Now we need to close the opening we left in the casing earlier, and before doing that, don't forget to switch your sewing machine back to a straight stitch first. And that's our waistband done. All that's left now is to hem the leg, and our tummy pants will be ready to wear. To hem the legs, start by folding the fabric edge over by about 5 mm and give it a press with the iron to hold it in place. Then fold it over one more time by another 2 cm and press again. Now sew along the folded edge and that's it, you are done. Now let's make the pocket version. Start by cutting 2 front pieces and 2 back pieces just as we did before, and this time also cut 4 pocket pieces. Don't forget to mark all the notches on every piece. A quick note on ironing. Here I'm using cotton muslin, so I'm skipping the iron this time as it would damage the texture of the fabric. That said, if you're using any other kind of natural fabric like regular cotton or linen, I do recommend give it a press before moving on, as it will make everything much easier and precise. This time, before we start sewing, we need to finish the raw edges on both the long sides of the pants pieces and on all 4 pocket pieces to prevent fraying. Now, to keep track of the wrong side of the fabric, I'm marking them with the paper tape so I always know which side is which. And of course I'm doing this for the sewing tutorial and you don't have to. Now mark the elastic opening notches on your pieces just as we did before. Then take 1 back piece, 1 front piece and 1 pair of pocket pieces. Place the front and the back pieces facing each other with the right side facing us. Now position your pocket pieces on their matching sections with the right sides facing the right sides of both the front and the back panels. Use a pin to mark the pocket notches on the right side of the fabric, pin everything together and sew along the 1 cm seam allowance. Next, press the pocket piece outward away from the seam. Now we are going to top stitch it down, as this keeps the pocket fabric from poking out once the pants are finished. To top stitch, simply sew the pocket and its seam allowance together a few millimeters from the seam. Now let's join the front and the back pieces along the outer side seam. Place the front piece on top of the back piece with the right sides facing each other and pin everything in place. Sew with a 1 cm seam allowance, starting at the top of the side seam, following the curve of the pocket and continuing all the way down to the bottom of the leg. And just like that, your pocket is complete. Now join the two pieces along the inner leg seam as well, then open up all your seams and give them a press for a neater, more professional finish. From this point on, the steps are exactly the same as the no pocket version, so you can head back to step 3 and follow along from there. See you there! And that's it, you can now sew endless pair of pants for your little one. I really hope that everything was clear and easy to follow along, and if you have any questions or something wasn't super clear, don't hesitate to drop a comment down below or just send me an email and I will get back to you as soon as possible. And as always, thank you so much for watching and for spending some of your time sewing with me. I really wish you a wonderful day and I can't wait to see you into the next one. Bye!